What is up, Philly? And welcome back to the Broad Street Benchwarmers podcast, presented to you by Hungry Dog Sports Blog, which, again, still not up. We're to that. We swear. But, as always, I got with me my boy, Ethan John. How you doing today, Ethan John?
We have a lot of important stuff to talk about, especially pertaining
We
to the
do.
Eagles. So, yeah, I
We
guess
did not even plan recording this. This is an emergency pod.
yeah. So, I guess we'll just get into it right now. Jamal Adams, debatably, still in my opinion, the best safety in the league.
Yo,
Best of trade from the Jets. And here's a short list that both terrifies me and excites me. So the list is the Baltimore Ravens, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Dallas Cowboys, San Francisco 49ers, Houston Texans, Seattle Seahawks,
and of
and
course,
the Eagles. Oh my God.
this
Okay.
is...
My initial reaction was there's no way Harry Roseman is gonna nudge because that's how he does things.
Exactly.
Because I think the asking price would be like a first, and maybe like you could be multiple firsts.
See, I was more excited because I think there is a trade package with the needs that the New York Jets have right now and the relationship that Joe Douglas and Howie Roseman seem to have, that there is a possibility, just the slightest possibility. I would still count Dallas as the favorite.
Yeah,
we'll get into that. But if you can throw Alshon Jeffrey, the Jets need a receiver with that loss of Robbie Anderson. You can throw them Avonte Maddox, who you know they've been chasing forever, and 2 first-round picks, which I know is a lot. But you are talking about a safety who is going to be a perennial All-Pro, a better version of Malcolm Jenkins, great in that locker room. We talk about this trade request. Before this, he was the leader of that New York Jets defense, and a guy who I personally believe has Hall of Fame potential. That is worth all of that. And so if Howie can pull that off, come on. I mean, I think this is the year. I think this is the year, Ethan John.
That's a very Dallas thing to say.
That is a very Dallas thing to
It's our
say.
year. It's our year.
But
I
if we manage to pull this off.
I definitely think that they should include Alshon in some way because
Yeah.
I think just with the injuries that just nobody wants him here other than, I guess, Doug Peterson.
Nick
Possibly.
Foles from Chicago is
Yeah.
calling it saying stay. But besides that, no one wants him here.
Yeah, because of the contract, the injuries, and plus we could get we definitely I think other than receiver to a degree, I think that secondary is, especially safety, since we lost Malcolm Jenkins, our biggest need. And to have someone who's that good at what he does is definitely could.
Still think wide receiver is huge, but I mean, you look at that secondary, you know, you're starting Jalen Mills as safety, who's burnt toast at the position he already plays. I love his personality. I love the way he goes after the ball, but I mean, this team is legitimately scary with that weapon on the outside.
Yeah, and plus, I mean, to see like Darius Slay and like some of the new guys like Will Parks, Robbie Coleman, even though we know what happened like 2 years ago in New Orleans, but I mean, he would be decent.
Yeah, I mean, this Eagles team, I mean, this defense has the talent in that D-line.
Yeah.
And the depth to make this work without Jamal Adams.
Yeah.
But with a safety who plays at a Hall of Fame level, can play at a Hall of Fame level, who's built like a linebacker, tackles with such ferocity. I mean, that's the piece.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I guess we'll go over the other teams. I think, although Dallas is definitely the favorite, I think the cap situation with Dak Prescott and Zeke is just it's such a problem for them. But I think they'll find some way to just go insane and then just I can see them just like I can see them just getting him and just going on a run, but
Yeah. I think the way this situation has played out so far, with the way Jamal Adams and Joe Douglas have interacted, I feel like Jamal Adams is going to get what he wants.
yeah,
He's going to go to the team that he wants. And so the Cowboys, we had him posting on Instagram years ago, how he loves Dallas. He'd love to play for Jerry. And so, I hate it.
yeah, of course.
This really is like the worst situation, the best situation at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, to have that much of a possibility, that is, we talked about in our Dallas episode, that is Dallas's biggest hole.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe their only hole.
Yeah.
Maybe. They need a little help on the O-line, but if they can plug that, I think that team is dominant, and it's horrifying.
Yeah, definitely.
Horrifying.
Because I definitely can see Jerry Jones being super aggressive with it, and Howie Roseman just sitting at his desk and just looking through, and probably signing like LaShawn McCoy or
exactly.
It's not going to be good.
Jason Peters again.
I mean,
more holding penalties.
I mean, speaking of that, I think in a second we're going to talk about.
We're going to talk about Brandon Brooks.
But so with Baltimore, I mean, they already pretty much complete on the defense. They don't really have any holes. Like their linebackers are really good. Their defensive line, adding Calais Campbell is really good. Their secondary is obviously really good with Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphrey, and Earl Thomas. And adding Jamal Adams to that would just be insane.
We've talked about how that's the best team in football, we think, already. And so, I don't know if they have the assets to add a piece like that. We were talking about before we even recorded this. I mean, all their firsts are going to suck because they're going to be competing every year. So, I mean, the value for that compared to a team like, I don't know, a Houston on this list or even us is going to be substantially less. And so, I don't know if I can see it, but that team would be, I mean, that might be one of the best teams to ever play the game.
I think the Houston thing is a problem because they traded I think it was 2 first-round picks for Laramie Tunsil, so they have like nothing to offer unless they want to go insane and just throw in Deshaun, but
throw in Deshaun?
Deshaun for Jamal and Sam Darnold and like some picks. I don't know.
I guess
you'll never know with that Bill O'Brien.
I mean, with Bill O'Brien, that's true.
And I think Seattle could be a good option because I mean their secondary hasn't been
it definitely is
good in a while.
Yeah, that's one of their. I mean, they need receivers and they need stuff in that secondary. But what do they have to offer? I mean, as far as assets,
they don't have much.
I mean, I don't know. I really don't know what this is going to take. Like I said, I don't know. I would guess, again, like I said, that Jamal Adams is going to get what he wants.
Yeah. And
so I don't know if the asking price is going to be something along the lines of Steelers to Raiders Antonio Brown, where you're giving up a 3rd-round pick and it is what it is. Or if it's along the lines of a Ramsey, where it's, throwing the farm to get a franchise guy. Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see, but it's interesting.
Yeah. So for San Francisco, I mean, their secondary is serviceable. Their D-line and the linebackers are what carry the team. But I mean, that could make them a lot better than they were before. I mean, with Bosa and Sherman and Fred Warner, I think that defense is still really good how it is already. But if they want to genuinely rival KC and Baltimore, then I guess that would be a decent move. But
I mean, that team's going to take a step back. We know that. You can't repeat the magical season that they had.
Yeah.
But they still look loaded. And I mean, they do still have a lot of assets, unlike all these other teams. They got all those running backs and those young running backs.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we'll see. I still think Dallas is definitely the favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And KC, I mean, you got Honey Badger. So, I don't know if I can see that.
Yeah. Right. Moving on. Probably the worst news for a Philadelphia fan right now.
This was
In
depressing.
my opinion, the best player on the team, Brandon Brooks, towards Achilles, and that just puts the season on just a totally dramatic. Just like what are we gonna do? Like seriously.
I mean, the funny thing was, I was watching the Amazon All or Nothing TV show when this broke, and you texted me, and it was the scene where Brandon Brooks goes to karate with Fletcher Cox, and I was like, oh my god, I have to shut this off. This is awful. I mean, for this offensive line that was already old and semi depleted, to lose a guy like that, who probably is the best player on this team. I mean, he's been an All-Pro, 4 years in a row?
I think so, yeah.
And he stayed, I mean, reasonably healthy throughout the year. So it's not like this is coming out of the blue. And so I don't know what they're going to do. You got a guy, Matt Pryor, on the bench who is about as inexperienced as it gets. Did not look good in the playoffs as against Seattle. Davion Clowney. But, yeah, not good at all. At all.
Yeah, and especially with how talented the defensive lines in the division are with like Chase Young and Tank Lawrence, and you could throw in some of the Giants guys, but I mean, Dexter Lawrence is okay, but
Dexter Lawrence was a beast at Clemson.
Yeah, and just looking back, like what are we gonna do? Because we're throwing Dillard into the fire since Jason Peters is 50-50. He'll come back, and then
I mean, I threw out the idea to you. They could move Dillard to guard and re-sign JP at left tackle.
I mean,
which is still a horrible situation.
Yeah.
But you got a guy who's experienced. I doubt JP is going to ask for a lot of money on his contract. But, I mean, he's been regressing every year.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so do you really want that? I don't know. Maybe give the young guy a chance, even though he played horrible. I don't know. Yeah. I really don't know.
Right. So, speaking of injuries, a breakout player that I think I on a few of my fantasy teams last year, Deebo Samuel, the 49ers, broke his foot, which is definitely a huge blow for that Niners offense.
Definitely.
I remember he had a really good rookie season, and I definitely like what I saw in him. I think they got Brandon Ayuk in the first round with their own first-round pick, because they had the other one from Indianapolis that they got Kinlaw with, but I mean, that offense is still pretty good without him, like with Emmanuel Sanders and Kittle and
no Manny Sanders.
He's on the Saints now. Okay, yeah, they're screwed. Never mind.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this offense. I like Dante Pettis.
Yeah,
I think he's solid enough, but they are definitely going to take a step back, especially with the way Jimmy G played in that Super Bowl game. And so, I mean, I still like what they're throwing out. There's a lot of young guys. I liked Ayuk even more than Jalen Reagor, to be honest, out of college. Yeah. I know. I think he's a great jump ball receiver. He's not the fastest guy or the flashiest guy, but he will catch the football at an insane rate. And so, I don't love it. But again, it's a broken foot. Yeah. So that's a 6-week period, according to Shefty. There's a chance that he's back in the preseason We're all fine. And that team is still built to make a run.
Yeah. And I just want to clarify here at Broad Street Benchwarmers, we are not Jimmy G fans by any means.
No, not by any means.
He sucks. He sucks.
I was a Jimmy G guy in New England until the hype came.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you could see the flashes when you're watching preseason football. You could see the flashes. But, I mean, the hype that Jimmy Garoppolo gets to throw screen passes and make Sam Bradford-like plays.
Yeah.
At an elite level, but still, Sam Bradford-like plays is ridiculous.
And speaking of Jimmy G in New England, I just feel like this is a necessary time to talk about the quarterback factory, because that's what that's where Jimmy G came from, and since we have a little time to just let the let the drama just die down a little bit. In this situation where we have a lot of assets that we could trade for Jamal Adams, and I'm not saying we're going to trade Jalen Hurts at all. That's not going to happen. We're not like.
I mean, do you think New York doesn't like Sam Darnold that much? Because I don't know how much they like Sam Darnold, to be honest. We don't like Sam Darnold.
I mean, I would rather have Darnold than Jalen Hurts, but
I don't know about that. Look, you watch the Jalen Hurts tape in college, it's not great, to be honest. He's a great leader. You can tell, he's got decent enough decision making and a good enough arm. And he can run.
Yeah.
But the turnovers. And, I mean, the fact is, that's really what killed that Oklahoma team, besides their defense. Offensively, it was just Jalen Hurts' inability to hold on to the football and to be accurate. And so, I mean, to me, he looks kind of similar to Darnold and what Darnold looked like in college. Darnold was great at escaping the pocket. Darnold also turned the ball over like 20 times.
Yeah.
And so, you'd kind of be getting the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, our basketball headline. Ben Simmons. Coach Brett Brown held a press conference. This was legitimately right after we recorded the last one. And he said Ben Simmons will probably not be 100% when he returns to the NBA playoffs. And that they're just going to try and see where he's at and, keep rolling with the team they got. And so this is
bad.
Is a little different. Yeah. I mean, Brett had said before, he's going to be ready to go. He's ready to play. And so I don't know if this is backtracking on that. If something happened, if this is cautionary. It's a little disturbing.
Yeah, I think 100% that but my main issue with the Sixers going to the playoffs was if they wanted to go anywhere, they had to be healthy. So
exactly.
If that's not happening, then they're screwed, because I honestly think if everyone is at the top of their game, we would not. I wouldn't even think we could compete with Milwaukee or Boston or Toronto, in my opinion, because I mean I like when Joel's dominant, he is incredible. Same with Ben.
Exactly.
But Tobias, honestly, I don't know why I'm saying honestly so much, but in the playoffs. Like I've seen Tobias Harris in the playoffs, and he is not that transforming third option that they need.
No.
At all. And
I was just on 2K, and I got rid of Tobias, and I got Jimmy back.
Of course, you need to
exactly. Like, this team without that third option, needs its stars ready to go. And even though they don't fit together to an extent, this is, I mean, for them to have any chance against these teams.
Yeah. And just like Jimmy Garoppolo here on the Brought to You Benchwarmers podcast, we do not like Tobias Harris as much. but
I mean, I love Bobby.
Yeah, of course.
Does that like
if it makes up for it, we like Boban Marjanovic.
We love
our least favorite athlete on this entire in the whole sports world here on the Brought to You Benchwarmers podcast is Al Horford. Oh my God.
Yes. I mean, for you you are paying the man $84 million
to average
stand there and shoot 28% from three. I'm pretty sure he's shooting 28%. I'm gonna have to look this up. Hold on.
Yeah. But to average 12 points a game and 7 rebounds is pathetic for a max contract.
Supposed to be. I mean, we expect Tobias Harris to an extent to have to be the third option.
Yeah.
He could have been this third option if he was playing the way he was in Boston.
Yeah.
He just doesn't fit.
I think
33%.
Yeah, it's just still bad. But I think the Sixers organization was so blinded by how he performed defending and both attacking Joel Embiid during his time in Boston, and I think they didn't realize that the age would have gotten to him, and the problem is that is exactly what happened, and the fact that they threw him that much money instead of going after much more. I mean, I know this team is built on height with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid and all that, but
it's going backwards like we talked about.
It's a shooting league.
Yeah. My question for you, with the moves that Elton Brand has made, though, do you think this could be a Colangelo-like situation?
I mean,
it's obviously better so far, but do you think this could go that way?
I mean, they have been moderately successful, but so far the Jimmy thing has blown up in our face.
Exactly.
Al Horford so far has looked pretty terrible.
Exactly. I like Richardson.
Yeah, I like Richardson.
But I like him. I mean, he's an okay shooter.
Yeah.
He's kind of a garbage defender, but I mean, he's fine.
And I think for the most part, the draft picks have been good, even though we shipped him off for Tobias Harris. Landry Shamet in a short time here was a god, and we love Landry Shamet here, and especially
Landry Shamet, exactly,
and especially Matisse Thybulle. I think he's been incredible.
Yes.
Even though the offense isn't totally there, I think he has all defensive potential.
It'll be there.
Yeah.
He can knock down from three.
Yeah, he's still a decent shooter.
Yeah, he just can't get down the lane to an extent at this point. But I mean, the future of this team
is very
clouded as people make it seem. Is still decently bright.
Yeah.
Decently. I think that Al Horford contract actually is tradable to an extent. I mean, Detroit?
Who would we get? Sekou and Luke Kennard and a pick.
Luke Kennard, D Rose.
I would take D Rose in a heartbeat.
We'll give him two firsts. A first.
Yeah, I would give him a first and Al Horford, maybe a few seconds for D Rose, to be honest, because that's exactly what we need. We need some explosive offense with some. I mean, his defense is not there, but
no, and I mean he's on a 1 year.
Yeah, so... and just to have a actual third option, and honestly, Tobias is our fourth option. Isn't that bad?
No,
even though he's a max contract player.
It still is so frustrating that this team truly believed that Tobias Harris was a max contract player. I mean, I can't even. I thought Chris Middleton was bad, but
yeah, I think Chris Middleton is exponentially better than Tobias.
Yeah, exactly.
It won't go down as a Chandler Parsons or a Solomon Hill contract, but it's
Yeah.
still or like a
Dang.
Bismack Biyombo, Nick Batum. But
There will be no Bismack Biyombo slander on this podcast, Ethan
yeah,
John.
well, Biz is a legend, or like a Mozgov, but like I think he's still a respectable player.
Yeah.
But so far, it's not looking particularly great.
No.
Yeah. So moving on to, I think that our last two headlines don't mean that much, but the Rams and the Chargers are going to be on Hard Knocks.
Woo! I'm
I
actually excited for this.
I honestly can't remember the last time I watched a full season of Hard Knocks. I don't even think
Really?
I have. Yeah.
I loved last season. Everybody consistently hates Hard Knocks more and more, but I loved the Raiders thing.
Yeah, that was good.
Knock on wood, that was great. And the Brown season the year before, I mean, Freddie,
Yeah.
the legend.
Yeah.
But
Well,
these teams aren't the most interesting.
yeah.
But
Both teams are in pretty bad spots. So I mean, unless we get Jalen Ramsey being Jalen Ramsey, so Rob, I don't know. Who cares? He sucks. But Rob Manfred is 100% the worst commissioner out of the four major sports. Even though Max Kellerman doesn't think hockey's up there, but that's a different conversation. But they I think the MLB Players Association proposed like a 70-game season just so we could get there by October, just so it didn't mess up baseball moving forward, like a shortened off season or something like that. And everybody seems to be on board with it. I know Bryce is. I know Pete Alonso. Those guys. Yeah.
Bryce is on board?
Yeah.
If Bryce is on board, I'm on board.
Yeah. So, I mean, as much as the Phillies frustrate me, I want to see baseball back, definitely.
Definitely. I mean, just the opportunity to have sports in general. I mean, we're all counting down the days till Disney World. Yeah. I've honestly watched more UFC fights than I ever have in my life. Yeah. This past quarantine. I mean, I just streaming them. It's definitely been interesting. But
yeah, I'm trying to do some research on NHL just because I know you'll say the Eagles are better, but I think the Flyers are definitely the hottest team in the city right now because we all know where the Sixers are, we all know where the Phillies are. But the Flyers genuinely have a chance. So, I mean...
When is hockey coming back?
I mean, I don't think they have a set date, but I think it's going to be around, like, July-ish.
Okay. So around the same time as the NBA?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I have one more thing. Before we go, we have the first pictures of Rob Gronkowski in a Tampa Bay Buccaneers jersey.
And Tom Brady, right?
And Tom Brady. And I think this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It looks so wrong on so many levels.
Yeah.
This is awful.
It's up there with the Iverson in Memphis and Jerry Rice in Seattle.
I mean, like we've said, this team is very overhyped.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. TB12 and Gronk.
Yeah. I think initially I definitely bought into the hype train, but after predicting that the Browns would be decent last year, I don't trust myself anymore with hype trains. So
I said 9-7. What'd you say?
Yeah, I think I said something around that, but
yeah, it's not bad.
I don't know. I think that division is still 100% going to New Orleans, but
yeah, I agree.
And I think that Atlanta and Carolina are both in really bad spots too.
Yeah, I think Carolina is going to be one of the worst teams in football.
I mean, I like some of their offensive pieces, like McCaffrey, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a Giants-like situation where McCaffrey, you're going to have to funnel him, 300 carries. I liked Robbie Anderson for us to pick up at the trade deadline last year. I think he's a number 2.
I mean, you have DJ Moore as the number 1, right? So I mean,
DJ Moore, really,
yeah. Really? He was really good for a fantasy team.
I mean, I guess.
He had okay. I just looking this up right now. He had like 1,200 yards and 4 touchdowns on like
DJ
87
Moore
catches.
did?
Yes, he did. He was on my fantasy team. Okay,
You're joking.
I'm not joking.
Oh my God, he did. And
Yeah.
he's from Philly. I didn't even know
Yeah.
this. Wow.
Yes, I swear to God, he
DJ
was
Moore,
good.
I'm very sorry. That was disrespectful. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I mean, their offense is good, but I think their defense is in a.
Yeah, you lose Kuechly.
You lose Bradbury.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think Derek Brown is NFL ready. He's a good player, but I think I much rather would have preferred to see Brian Burns and Isaiah Simmons on that Carolina offense. That would have been insane. But
Isaiah Simmons.
the D line is not that good, so I can see why. But
yeah, and I don't like Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, I
love the story, but I think it's not. It's not good.
Matt Rule is going to be fine. He's not as bad as Kevin Stefanski or Joe Judge, but
Joe Judge.
I mean, Joe Judge can be. We can gladly lose some games in New York for us. That would be fantastic.
Exactly. Please.
Yeah.
Give us little Danny Dimes. Maybe you'll win like 2.
Yeah.
We love the NFC East.
Yeah. Anyways, this is the end of our 6th episode. We hope you enjoy it. We should be coming back pretty soon. I think recently, I think definitely today, there's just been a total surge of news. So I don't know how action-packed your next one's going to be, but thanks for watching.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, we'll see you later.
Yep.